welcome dear friends. So, now we will begin the next topic, that means continuing the next SDGs on the course of education for sustainable development. So, we have already discussed up to 11 SDGs. So, now today we will just discuss about the 12 SDG 12, that is the responsible consumption and production, that we will discuss about that. So, what is the target of SDG 12, that is ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. So, how to, that means how to adopt that style of lifestyle in such a way that all the citizens become very conscious about the responsible consumption and responsible production, in the sense that it has to be eco-friendly, there should not be any wastage of our resources, all kinds of things. So, that is the main focus of this SDG. So, achieving the economic growth and sustainable development, but it requires to reduce our ecological footprint, that is the carbon footprint, by changing the way we produce and consume the goods and resources. Like for example, our factories, our industries and other kinds of the production oriented or manufacturing sector industries, actually they also produce wastage and wastage, also a lot of wastages and carbons etc., as a result of their manufacturing process. How to minimize it? Then again, even if, like for example, unnecessary we purchase and consume lot of things, a lot of FMCG products, or the all kinds of the consumer related products, market products etc., that is not actually wise and sustainable. So, how to develop this kind of mindset to consume sustainably and to produce sustainably? So, again now in our country, agriculture is the biggest user of water worldwide, and irrigation now claims close to 70% of all our fresh water. So, the efficient management of our shared natural resources, like our mineral products, our energy and our water, our other kinds of minerals, all kinds of things. So, and the way we dispose this toxic toxic waste and the pollutants are important to target this achieve goal. So, how do we use, how do we consume the products, how do we waste, how do we dispose these waste products and the pollutants etc. These are very important factors of ecological sustainability. So, that is why encouraging the industries and businessmen and the consumers to recycle and to reduce the waste in equally important, and it will help us in moving towards more sustainable patterns of consumption by 2030. So, that is the way, that means not only we in our individual household, in individual household we practice such things, but we also should motivate, also should direct the industries in terms of policy and the declaration etc., that how sustainably they can produce certain things, goods and other products, and even the manufacturing industry, and how they can sustainably dispose the toxic pollutants, in how to dispose it sustainably. That means nowadays the recycling of the waste products, the waste management, so all these kind of the technology for this kind of things are should also be followed. So, how to that means direct, how to motivate the industry people, industries and organizations, business houses, that is to, even though they produce the very valuable goods, how they can dispose it. So, in a very sustainable way. For this is all about, that means having the per capita global food waste, then waste in the waste at the retailer and consumer level is also important. For how do we dispose our waste products, like the extra food materials, how to dispose it, how to serve it others, and all kinds of things. So, that food security also, this can also help us in protecting our food security and shift us towards the more valuable resource efficient economy. So, sustainable consumption, as we know, that is the means that our food practices or our dietary, that how do we meet our dietary practices today in terms of the nutrition and compromising the needs for the future generation. That means we should not, that means as because we are getting the plenty of materials, plenty of food materials, other kinds of the materials. We should not waste it, rather we should distribute it, we should actually we should serve it to the poor people, to the disadvantaged people who are not getting it actually. So, that is why, that means in this way we should go beyond our own need, our own satisfaction. We should go beyond our own selfish self-interest, ambitions, achievement and aspirations, but to think about the planet, to think about the community, to think about the people as well. The next is that 13 SDG 13 is the climate action. Climate action, that means to take urgent action to combat the climate change and its impact. Nowadays, all of us, as we are very familiar with the this global warming and the climate change aspects, and then how this our climate has become disruptive, that means irregular in regular occurrence of storms, and then floods, all tsunamis, all kinds. There is no regularity in the seasons and the climate process. So, that is an impact of the environmental disasters, or the that means the unsustainable planet, or how we are just torturing our planet and not caring for its resources, etc. So, that is in the present scenario with the climate change, with the climate change and the disasters or natural disasters occurring frequently. So, it's a need of the hour in and of utmost importance to take the urgent action to combat this climate change and its impact, that means its greenhouse impact. So, greenhouse gas emissions are more than 50% higher in comparison to 1990s, and the global warming is actually the cause of long lasting change in our climate system. So, that is why this is the data, that this is not the data that the geophysical, that is why the geophysical disasters are taking place, or almost 90% of the climate related things are are affecting our environments. So, here the primary focus is how to mobilize our resources, the financial resources annually, and address these the requirement of the environmental requirements of to take care of to take or mitigate the challenges that we are facing due to the climate change and the global warming. So, these are the supporting that means supporting documents, literature that you can find out. So, in the industrial sector, in the industrial sector, and with the more investment and the technology use, how we can minimize this kind of thing, how can minimize this thing. So, since the middle of the 20th century, India has witnessed a rise in the average temperature. Now, because after this tsunami, after this super cyclone, after these things, in the coastal region, especially in the coastal region, the temperature is increasing day by day. So, that is again then rainfall rainfall volume quantity also is decreasing, it is very irregular. So, that also affects not only our human lives, but also affects our agriculture, agriculture and all kinds of the activities, all kinds of the business activities as well. So, that is why there is a compelling scientific evidence that the human activities are influenced by this kind of the regional climate change. So, we have to, that means in order to increase our manpower, enhance our capacity, capabilities and the skills and competencies also, we need to deal with this kind of climatic changes, because climate has also a significant impact on our not only the lifestyle and but production also, production and business activities also. So, that is why that is to improve this accuracy of the future climate projection in the context of regional forecast. So, therefore, it has been very strategic. It has become the very important of utmost importance to improve the knowledge about our geophysical system as well as to continue enhancing the observation system, monitoring system, and develop certain climate models with the predictions and assumptions, and with the help of the technology and other kinds of research. We should take care of this, otherwise the future will be doomed, the future will be doomed. So, that is the regarding the climate change. Then the SDG 14, that is the life below water, that is how to sustainably conserve our water, because almost 70% of our water is confined to the seas, that is salted water, and the only that there is only the drinking water kind of the pure water is only available a little percentage of thing. How to sustainably use it and distribute among our stakeholders, among our citizens, that is the biggest challenge. So, conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas and the marine resources, that means resources, our natural the biological resources like the marine life, marine resources that is living purely in underwater, below water. So, that we have to take care of it, that is take care of our marine products. So, marine resources for sustainable development also. So, that is why the with the world's ocean, with the global warming worlds in the world's ocean, the temperature, the chemistry, the currents, all kinds of things, these are also being changed, and affects the habitat, human habitat. So, that is how to manage these vital resources has become very essential for the humanity as a whole, and especially for the to counterbalance, to counter check this climate effect. So, there are 3 billion people depends on the marine and coastal biodiversity of their livelihood, especially the coastal region, and India being the peninsula is a peninsula, that means lower portion, that means the western portion, southern portion, major portions, major regional portions are lying in the coastal region. So, and it has that is why the marine life, that the oceans, the seas are become the source of income, source of habitat, source of economical and financial life, a source of living, also day to day source of living for many of our citizens, citizens are residing in the coastal areas. So, that is how to sustainably use these resources and the marine life in a so effective way, so that it will not only that we can restore the resources for the future generation, but also we can sustainably use it for our present requirement. So, how to sustainably conserve these oceans and etc. So, because oceans absorb 30% of the carbon dioxide produced by the humans and industries as a result. So, that is a marine pollution also increases, marine pollution. So, and the overwhelming majority which comes now from the river, through the rivers, also through the rivers, through the cities, and ultimately it is coming to the oceans. So, that is a SDG therefore aims to sustainably manage and protect the marine and coastal ecosystem for the pollutions, as well as to address the impact of the oceans, that is enhancing the conservation for the sustainable use of the ocean based resources has become an international issue, international law, and there are also the different policies, international laws, and the regulations are there how to sustainably use the seas and the oceans, and how to mitigate some of the crucial challenges, like for example then oil spills, then that means excessive wastage and pollutions that is in the marine life, and how we are using that sea life or ocean or waters in and around our regional spaces, how sustainably, whether we are using it sustainably or not. So, these are the factors that actually not only affects our lifestyle, our habitat, our marine life, but also as a whole our planet. So, planet and human life also, that is why it has become a goal of SDG 14, goal number 14, that is how to deal with our water resources and the life below the water, like our marine life, the fisheries and other kinds of marine life, how to take care of them and sustainably use them, so that we can protect our environment. Then the 15 is like the SDG 15 is on life on land. So, that is a life on land, that like our on all the land, forest and the lands, how we are using it, especially the greens, especially the greens. So, protect and restore and promote the sustainable use of the territorial ecosystem, sustainably manage our forests, then the combat the certification of that reverse the land degradation, and the halt of the biodiversity loss, and the halt of the biodiversity law. That is the focus of this SDG SDG 15, that is to take care of the biodiversity, that means how to sustainably use our forest resources, and for mega projects, how to monitor, how to evaluate how, to what extent it is affecting the human life, to what extent it is affecting our environment. So that is a more and more, because oxygen, because of this carbon excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, not only it causes the pollution, but also it affects human health also. So human health also. So that is how to halt this biodiversity loss. So that is the measure, the factor under this SDG. So human life, because as of us, all of us we know, human life depends on the earth as much as the oceans for our sustenance and livelihoods. That is why, so plant life at most at least provides 80% of the human diet. So that is why in India, agriculture has become has been an important source of economic resource, and forest also almost covers the 30% of the earth's earth's surface. So that is how to that means, and again it is also, it's a vital habitat for our millions of species and animals. So it's a base, it's a living space, it's the base of the this animal planet. So that is why, so how to maintain this clean air, water, and as well as combating the climate change. For that matter, we have to be very cautious and careful about our lands and the equations in the land, like the percentage of the greenery, then the pollutions, the air, then temperature and the water, all these kinds of things are very important. So because every year a large sector of the land actually is being lost because of the construction, because of the factory, industry, and etc. So in this way, our greenery actually gradually decreases, because being affected so disproportionately, which also affecting the communities. So because of the deforestation, also the temperature, the climate change also is an outcome of this kind of disastrous habitat, disastrous practices, etc. That is why, so this SDG 15, that is how to take care of the life on the land, both the human being and the animal planet also. So that is it has become very important factor. So and that is why urgent action must be taken to reduce this kind of loss of the natural habitat, and to take care of the biodiversity, which actually is a part of our common heritage and support system. So that is climate change mitigation and adaptation is adaptation and the peace and security, that means coexistence of all the living organisms and take care of the environment has become the priority of this SDG. Now the next SDG is that is the 16 number SDG is the peace, justice and strong institution. How to build a peaceful society, how to provide justice, how to have a strong institutions, how to build the strong institutions by providing the access to all, justice to all, to build an effective, accountable and inclusive institutions at all level. That means we have to be accountable, we have to be responsible, not only in our consumption, production and etc., but we have to be careful for our society, for our future generation, for our resource depletion, and so how to be careful. So that is why we cannot hope for sustainable development without peace, human rights, stability, justice, etc., and effective governance also, because we in order to mobilize all the resources and in order to enhance the human resource power, we need some kinds of rules, regulations, justice, legal systems, etc., to maintain peace, to maintain peace, then to build the strong institution with ethical values, standards, etc. So that is and to to remove all kinds of the conflicts, chaos, and because of the n number of reasons, that is so which also forms into the in the purview of this in the society and the governance and etc. So communal violence and the conflict and all kinds of this, all kinds of things, it overburden our society with with the limited resources also, because so that is it's inevitable, but how it must be addressed, that is an important factor here. So violence is, as we can see, all of us, we can see in and around in our neighboring countries, in and around India is continuously facing all kinds of the border challenges, the security challenges, terrorism challenges, and internal security challenges also. How that means it has a negative impact and destructive impact definitely on our society, and affecting not only the economic growth but also resulting in a kind of grievances, very tensions, and the depressions, and all kinds of the negative emotions are emerging out of it. That is in order to, so that is the main cause of this social conflict, all kinds of violence, crime, and all kinds of torture, and actually gradually the human society is moving towards becoming very clinical, and all kinds of the clinical abnormal, and you can say psychologically depressed. So that is the how to take the necessary measures to protect not only our resources but also our society, our mankind, our people, our human resource. So that is why to focus on the peace, justice, and to how to build a strong institution with the value system, with the ethical standard of practices. So therefore, this SDG aims to significantly reduce all forms of the violence and work with the government and communities to end the conflict and insecurity. So promoting the rule of law, human rights, gender equality, we have already discussed gender equality, are the key processes of reducing this flow of the illicit and illicit arms, etc., then terrorism, and strengthening the participation of our developing countries in the institution building and global governance. So that means we all of us, we can develop, not only develop an awareness about the sustainability and sustainable resource development, etc., but about our ethical behaviors, our pro-social behavior, our governance. We have to be, you have to be very vigilant about the malices that is happening in and around our society. We must be very responsible in taking the ownership and taking the responsibility of addressing all these issues through media, through action, through and through social media, through actions, through different kinds of approaching the government agencies and working with the non-governmental agencies. So this is our primary responsibility, is the social responsibility of every citizen. It's not just confined to different organizations working on this domain, but it is it's a responsibility for all of us. So therefore, the SDG, then the next, so this is the primary target of good governance, and even the corporates also, they have been assigned the task through corporate social responsibility to take care of not only the natural resources but human resources, and for enhancing the skills and competencies of our manpower, all kinds of things. Now the next is our 17th, that is the partnership for the goals. In order to achieve all these 16 goals, we need partnership, collaboration, etc. So that is why, by strengthening the means of implementation, revitalizing the global partnership for sustainable development. So that means all alone, that means independently we cannot achieve all the 17 goals in a very 16 goals in a very short period of time by 2030 or 2020 and 2030. So but that is why, for that matter, we need to collaborate with others, because we are now post globalization, we are living in the global setup. That means all of us, we are interconnected, because we are the global citizens. So therefore, how to build up that network and partnership, sustainable partnership, for not only exchange of our business activities, but also sharing the thoughts, sharing our knowledge, sharing our technology, all kinds of things. So many such countries, therefore the many countries now also require the official development assistance, like to encourage the growth and needs. For example, the developed nation also, they should share some of their resources with the developing countries or the poor countries in this process of sustainable development. So it is not just confined to the development of few countries or those who are already. So it has become a responsibility of the developed countries, those who are already achieve some of the SDGs and to a remarkable percentage. So they are there, they are to stretch out, they are to help out the other developing countries in sharing the resources, information technology and etc. So that they are globally almost all the countries we can stay, we can live peacefully and our planet Earth can also be protected. So these are some of the means. These are some of the means, that means how we can develop this global partnership, like like for example, improving the sharing of knowledge and technology is an important policy of the research and innovation. Then coordinating the policies to help the developing countries to manage their debt as well as promoting the investment. At least for sustainable growth and development. Then the goals also aim to enhance the north-south and south-south cooperation, supporting the national plans or international plans. Some international organizations like summits, international conferences, international organizational bodies, our organization like World Trade, the WHO, then UNESCO organizations, UNICEF, all kinds of the different kinds of communities and countries, that's economical and financial and business related bodies, international bodies and organizations. They are taking care of not only cooperating with each other, cooperating with their neighboring countries, but also stretching their help or extending their help with regard to resources to the countries who are in the deficit level, who are in the disadvantaged positions. So so it's not just about the financial, the economic transactions, business, etc., but it is about sharing and caring our resources with the those who are deprived, those who are disadvantaged, this population also across the world. So it is a kind of developing a brotherhood. It's a kind of developing the global brotherhood in global citizenship, so that not only we can develop the partnership and different networks for our own development, but also the holistic development, the harmonious development of the total global citizens. So now in terms of our immigration policy, then migration people, migrate people, that means take migration policies, these kind of different policies, that means to facilitate, to help, to to support our deprived deprived societies from different countries, how to settle them down, how not. So that is, it is going beyond our own interest, it is going beyond our own country's requirements. So we have to be significant, we have to play a significant role in the global scenario as well. So these are some of the websites that we can go through, because in UNESCO is very active nowadays, very active in spelling out in declaration, in its declaration and implementation of the different policies with the new new action plans, new strategies, new approaches. So we can update ourselves through these through these links and literatures and the policy documents that is coming out from the UNESCO platforms and related UNESCO organizations. So now this is, we have just discussed about this, all the 17 SDGs. This is the only there's a brief idea about what which SDG is addressing which issues. This is a brief that means overall knowledge about the SDGs. Now we'll go into the depth in the next sessions about the ESD, the role of ESD, how what should be the role of ESD, how we should develop the framework, what should be the curriculum framework, what should be the its pedagogical framework, what should be the components and the important factors that should be incorporated, and through ESD how we can enhance not only our knowledge, not only our technical skills and competencies, but how ESD can play a major role, vital role in achieving this kind of all these SDGs, initially for the India, but in the global context. So it's not just focused for India, but is definitely in order to play a very important role in the global scenario, we need to develop ourselves also. So we need to be sustainable, and we need to achieve almost all these 17 goals. Then only we can be a very good play a very important role, vital role in global scenario or international scenario. So this is all about all the 17 SDGs. Then we'll in the next topic, next class, we will discuss about the other things, other topics, chapters. Thank you very much.